This is Shawn, and what I've got here is a 2001 SL2, and I picked this car up yesterday, and one of the problems it has is the intake manifold right here. This coolant line, the little nipple on the manifold side is broken off and it's leaking coolant. And so what I'm going to try to do today is walk through replacing that intake manifold, and I'm going to be replacing it with one that I've got off another engine over here, which is right here. So this whole plastic piece right here I'll be replacing. So here we are back at the car. What I've done is I've removed the air tube off here. I have taken this fuel line loose right here, and there's a little connector, a 10mm nut, so that'll slide off now, the fuel line, and out of the way. You've got a little brace here with the power steering pump. I want to get rid of that. I've also pulled the throttle cable off the throttle body here to get that out of the way. Next, I'm going to try and remove the fuel rail here. The fuel rail here is held on with two 8mm bolts, and also I've disconnected these three connectors from the throttle body, and so now the fuel rail is able to come out, and there was a connector down here that I had to disconnect also. And so now this should hopefully stay out of the way back here, and we can actually get to the intake manifold. To remove the manifold, what you do is you have 6 13mm nuts that hold on these studs here, and then you've also got this little connector here, and that's a 13 as well. So once you remove those bolts, and also you've got an 8mm down here, and this is best accessed from underneath the car. Use your 1/4-inch driver for that. Then your intake manifold will slide right off. And what you'll want to do also is to replace this gasket here. Now this is the tool I used, just a regular 3/8 ratchet with a 13mm deep, to loosen all these fasteners. And so here we are, and what I've done here in the car is I've removed the top motor mount and supported the engine from below with the jack, and then I've used this ratchet strap here to kind of pull the engine back away from the firewall so I can access some of this stuff back here. And so we're going to see how I did, see if I can get this intake manifold out of here. And it's loose, and it's got to come off of those studs, and I may have to put the camera down for it, so hang on. Okay, after about 5 or 10 minutes I got the manifold out, and I had to kind of tweak my engine a little bit, and there was one more hose that needed to be disconnected once I got it out. And here is the manifold, and let me take this outside and I'll show you. Right here is the little nipple that broke off, and you can see it's good right there, how it's sticking out right there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this manifold, put a new gasket in it, and reinstall it. Okay, I got my new gasket installed here, and you can see it looks pretty nice right here. One tip on getting this gasket back in, if you can see right here on the edge there's a little ear right there, and that makes a good place to start. So we're going to take this manifold and see if we can reinstall it. One thing I want to note too, this little hose right here, which is on the back of the manifold, is going to plug in. It's going to plug in right here between these two electrical connectors. You've got a little nipple right there that hose plugs into. And so let's get it back in. Here we are again, and I've got the intake manifold back in place, and I've got everything back together now. I reconnected, reinstalled the fuel injectors, cleaned them off a little bit before I did. This little connector here, I reinstalled that, reinstalled the throttle cable, the fuel line here, and I had a couple hoses here that connected for coolant, heater core hose back here that I connected, the hose up on the bottom of the manifold, got that back connected. There was another electrical connector down in there, I'm not sure what it goes to, but I got that back on, and I'm ready to put my breather tube back in and give this a try and see how we did. And so, a couple of notes, this took me about 2.5 hours, and I'd never done it before with the engine in the car, only with the engine out. And